As we stand today, we are nearing the end of May, which means we are almost a third of the way done with the regular season. And there have been lots and lots of surprises across baseball. So with baseball being in full swing and there being lots of surprises across the league, I thought today would be a good time to drop a video talking about each team's most surprising player. And when I say surprising, I'm not talking about bad surprises. I'm going to be talking about the players who have been surprisingly good up to this point. Later on this week, or maybe next week, I'm going to be dropping a video talking about each team's most disappointing players, so that is going to be a video for itself. But with that in mind, let's hop right into the video. Starting things off with the Arizona Diamondbacks, I have Zach Gallen. Now I know Gallen has been a very good pitcher in the past, and really the only thing getting in his way was his health. But I don't think anyone was expecting him to pitch this good. So far, Gallen in 39 innings this year has a 1.14 ERA and looks like one of the leading candidates for National League Cy Young. Now obviously I don't think the ERA is going to stay in the low ones, but I do think all year he could be one of the best pitchers in the National League, that is if he stays healthy. Moving on to the Atlanta Braves, I have Kyle Wright. Wright has been one of the best pitchers in the National League so far this year, as in 47 innings pitched he has a 2.49 ERA to go along with 56 punchouts. Wright was always a highly touted prospect within Atlanta's organization, but he never really put it together in the big leagues. Prior to this year, he had never had a sub 4.5 ERA. So while Wright has definitely always had the talent to be a very good major league pitcher, it is a little bit surprising to see him come out all of a sudden and pitch like an all-star. Moving on to the Baltimore Orioles, I have Jorge Lopez. Lopez has really broken out this year as one of Baltimore's best relievers. So far in 20 innings, he has 4 saves to go along with a 1.35 ERA. And Lopez, in my opinion, is really one of the most surprising players in all of baseball because in each of the past 3 seasons, he's had a 6+ ERA. So for him to come out and pitch the way he has this year, it's definitely a huge surprise. Moving on to the Boston Red Sox, I have Michael Wacha. While Wacha has definitely been a solid major league player throughout his career, he hasn't had a sub 4 ERA since 2018. So it's definitely a big surprise to see him come out this year in the 31 innings he's pitched and have a 1.76 ERA. Moving on to the Chicago White Sox, I have Michael Kopech. Kopech has always been a pretty highly regarded prospect as he was the centerpiece of the Chris Sale deal a few years back. And ever since getting to Chicago, he's dealt with numerous injuries and has been pitching out of the bullpen. But this year, in his first year as a starter, he's broken out as in 42 innings he has a 1.29 ERA to go along with 39 punchouts. So Kopech definitely has all the talent in the world, but I don't think a lot of people were expecting him to be this good as a first-time starter. Getting on to the Chicago Cubs, I have Keegan Thompson. Thompson is currently in his second big league season, and he wasn't too bad his rookie year, but I don't think anyone was expecting him to be this good. He's been in the long relief role this year where he has a 1.54 ERA in 35 innings pitched. You really haven't heard too much about this guy. He's quietly been one of the best relievers in the game so far. Moving on to the Cincinnati Reds, I have Tyler Stevenson. The Reds all around have been a big disappointment this year, but Stevenson has been one of the few bright spots. So far this year, he's hitting .303 with 4 home runs to go along with 20 RBIs. And on top of his impressive offensive numbers, he's a very good defensive catcher. So if Stevenson keeps this up all year long, he's going to be considered one of the best catchers in the game. Next up, I have Josh Naylor of the Cleveland Guardians. Naylor has broken out this year and is really one of the most surprising players in the game. So far, he's hitting .351 to go along with 6 home runs and 23 RBIs. And the fact that prior to this year, Naylor was mostly spending his time as a platoon hitter or a bench bat for the most part, it makes it even that more impressive. Moving on to the Colorado Rockies, I have CJ Cron. Cron has definitely been a good power hitter throughout his career, but this year he's taken it to another level. So far, he's hitting .329 with 11 home runs to go along with 32 RBIs, and it really looks like he has a chance at the Triple Crown. Now, obviously, that's most likely not going to happen, but the fact that Cron is even in that conversation a couple months into the season shows just how good he's playing. Now, you can definitely attribute a lot of Cron's success to Coors Field because it's the best hitter's park in baseball, but even the Rockies weren't expecting Cron to be nearly as good as he has been. Moving on to the Detroit Tigers, I have Tarik Skubal. Now, as a whole, Detroit has been very disappointing. They've been one of the worst teams in baseball, so it was pretty tough to pick a surprising player. And Skubal has been very good this year, and he was kind of expected to take a pretty big leap. A lot of people sort of knew how good this guy was. But the way he's pitched so far has definitely surprised me and a lot of other fans across baseball. In 45 innings pitched, he has a 1.81 ERA to go along with 50 punchouts. He's definitely been the best Detroit Tiger so far, and if he keeps this up, he could be looking at his first All-Star appearance. Moving on to the Houston Astros, I have Justin Verlander. Verlander, up to this point, is putting up video game numbers. So far in 52 innings, he has a 1.22 ERA to go along with 49 punchouts. And I know Justin Verlander's been one of the best pitchers of this generation, but the fact that he's coming off of Tommy John surgery and is 39 years old and is pitching this well is just insane. He's no doubt the most impressive and surprising player on the Astros so far, and I don't know, maybe if he keeps this up, he could win a Cy Young award. Moving on to the Kansas City Royals, I have Andrew Benintendi. The Royals really haven't had too many surprising players up to this point, but Andrew Benintendi has been playing very well. So far this year, he's hitting .329 with 2 home runs to go along with 18 RBIs. And with just how bad Benintendi has played over the past couple seasons, it's been a very big surprise to see him come out and hit this well this year. So Benintendi, obviously a very good player with lots of talent. He showed us what he can do in Boston, but the fact that he's been so bad over the past couple years and has been playing this good this year has been a big surprise. Moving on to the Los Angeles Angels, I have Taylor Ward. Ward has been arguably the most surprising player in all of baseball. So far, Ward is hitting .370 to go along with 9 home runs and 23 RBIs. And those 9 home runs in his 30 games played this year, that's a career high. So Ward has been an extremely exciting player to watch. He's come out of absolutely nowhere and played like an MVP candidate, and I really do hope he keeps this up along with the Angels. Moving on to the LA Dodgers, I have Tony Gonsolin. Dodgers are obviously one of the best teams in paper in baseball, so it's pretty hard to pick out a surprising player, but Gonsolin has definitely stood out. He's never been a great pitcher. He's definitely been a pretty decent pitcher throughout his career, but not to what he's been this year. So far in 39 innings pitched, Gonsolin has a 1.62 ERA. He's been a pleasant surprise for LA, and if he keeps this up, he's going to be a key piece in the rotation all season long. Getting on to the Miami Marlins, I have Pablo Lopez. You could really say Lopez hasn't been a huge surprise because he's been a very good pitcher in the past. But I don't think many people were expecting him to pitch to a 1.57 ERA in the first 2 months of the season. So Miami as a whole really hasn't had too many surprising players, but I definitely think Lopez has broken out and really been a very exciting player because I don't think many people are expecting him to be a Cy Young candidate. Moving on to the Milwaukee Brewers, I have Eric Lauer. Lauer has been a pretty decent starting pitcher throughout his time in Milwaukee, but this year he's taken it to another level. So far in 42 innings pitched, he has a 2.16 ERA to go along with 54 punchouts. He's really been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball and really one of the best strikeout pitchers as well. And Milwaukee could really benefit from Lauer keeping up this play because they just lost one of their best starting pitchers for most of the season in Freddie Peralta. Moving on to the Minnesota Twins, I have Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan was expected to be a good pitcher for Minnesota this year as he was their opening day starter. But even the Twins weren't expecting him to break out and be one of the best pitchers in the American League. So far in 43 innings, Ryan has a 2.28 ERA to go along with 42 punchouts. The Twins as a whole have been a very good team this year as they currently lead the AL Central, and Ryan has been a big part of it. Moving on to the New York Yankees, I have Nestor Cortes. Cortes has broken out this year and has been one of the leading candidates for AL Cy Young. So far in 45 innings, he has a 1.8 ERA to go along with 56 punchouts. And one other player I have to mention is Clay Holmes. Holmes has really never been a very good major league player, but this year he's taken it to a whole nother level. In 22 innings, he has a .42 ERA to go along with 4 saves. So Cortes and Holmes have been extremely surprising so far, and I really just couldn't go without mentioning both of them. Moving on to the New York Mets, I have Carlos Carrasco. This one was pretty tough because the Mets all around have lots of stars who have been playing very well. So really not too many surprises with this team, but I think Carrasco stood out. I say he stands out because he's been injured over the past couple seasons and just hasn't been out there on the mound. And in 46 innings this year, he has a 3.5 ERA and has been a very good piece for the Mets. Moving on to the Oakland A's, I have Paul Blackburn. This was a toss-up between Blackburn and Danny Jimenez, who have both been very pleasant surprises for Oakland. But I ultimately went with Blackburn, obviously, as so far in 42 innings pitched, he has a 1.91 ERA to go along with 34 punchouts. For someone like Blackburn, who really hasn't put it together in the big leagues up to this point, to come out and pitch the way he has, it's been a massive surprise. Moving on to the Philadelphia Phillies, I have Jean Segura. Another team with not too many surprises here, but Jean Segura has been a little bit of a surprise. I think he's been so surprising not because of his good play, but because of his power he's displayed so far. He's only hit 20 home runs once in his career back in 2016 with Arizona, and if he keeps it up, he could be well on his way to his second career 20 home run season. And he's not only hitting home runs, as he's also hitting .290 to go along with 5 stolen bases, so in my opinion, he's been the best offensive bat on Philadelphia, not named Bryce Harper. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Pirates, I have Jose Quintana. Quintana has been a pleasant surprise for Pittsburgh, as in 41 innings this year, he has a 2.43 ERA to go along with 34 punchouts. Early on in his career, Quintana was one of the best pitchers in baseball back when he was on Chicago. But recently, he hasn't looked the same, as 2016 was the last time he had a sub-4 ERA. So I'm not too sure if this is going to keep up all season long, but I'm definitely happy to see Jose Quintana pitching like the player he once was. Moving on to the San Diego Padres, I have Taylor Rogers. I was close to picking Eric Hosmer or Jurickson Profar, but Rogers, in my opinion, has been the single most surprising Padre. So far, he has been the best closer in baseball, not named Josh Hader, as he currently has 16 saves to go along with a .49 ERA. And Rogers has definitely been a very good relief pitcher and closer in the past with Minnesota, but if you were telling me he was going to have a .49 ERA going into June, I would be very surprised. Getting on to the San Francisco Giants, I have Camilo Doval. Another team with not too many surprises, but I definitely think Doval stands out. So far, he has 7 saves to go along with a 2.7 ERA. So the numbers really aren't too surprising. He was expected to be a very good rookie reliever, but I just think there would have been a lot more ups and downs up to this point. Next up, we have the Seattle Mariners, and I'm going with Ty France. France was definitely a breakout player for Seattle last year, as he was one of their best offensive bats. But this year, France has taken it to another level, as he's hitting .325 with 6 home runs to go along with 28 RBIs. He's been one of the best hitters in the American League up to this point, and he's really been one of the most consistent hitters in Seattle's offense. Moving on to the St. Louis Cardinals, I have Miles Mikolas. Mikolas has been a very, very good pitcher for St. Louis so far, as in 48 innings he has a 1.68 earned run average. Now, Mikolas has shown in the past an ability to pitch very well in the major leagues, but the fact that he's been back and forth between Japan and the big leagues really just makes it that more impressive. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Rays, I have Manuel Margot. Margot is currently on the IL, but when he was healthy, he was playing like one of Tampa Bay's best offensive options. So far this year, he's hitting .348 with 3 home runs, 21 RBIs to go along with 5 stolen bases. Just a couple years back, Margot was a very highly touted prospect in San Diego's system. But ever since coming over from San Diego, he really hasn't lived up to the hype in Tampa Bay. But this year, he looks like a whole new player, and if he gets back and is fully healthy, maybe he'll pick up right where he left off, and this could be a career year for Margot. Next up, we have the Texas Rangers, and I'm going with Martin Perez. Perez has really never been a great pitcher throughout his career, as he has a career 4.58 ERA. But this year, he's strung together some impressive starts with Texas. So far in 49 innings, Perez has a 1.64 ERA and has clearly been Texas's best starting option. Now, I'm not too sure if this will keep up. As I mentioned before, he's never been a great pitcher throughout his career, but he's definitely been better than expected for Texas up to this point. Moving on to the Toronto Blue Jays, I have Alek Manoah. Manoah strung together an impressive rookie campaign last year, as in 111 innings he had a 3.22 ERA. And this year he's taken it to another level, as in 50 innings pitched he has a 1.62 ERA. So in reality, Manoah may not be the biggest surprise in the world, but Toronto doesn't have too many surprises, but I definitely think it is a little surprising to see Manoah come out and pitch as well as he has. And last but certainly not least, I have the Washington Nationals, where I'm going with Yadiel Hernandez. Hernandez is a 34-year-old who, prior to this season, hasn't got too much time in the big leagues. But he's taken full advantage of his playing time this year, as he's hitting .321 to go along with 3 home runs and 20 RBIs. He's been a breakthrough offensive bat for Washington, who as a whole has been struggling this year. So Hernandez has been one of the few bright spots on Washington this year, and I really do hope he can keep it up, because he's one of the few reasons the Nationals are watchable right now. So there you have my most surprising player from every team up to this point. Let me know what you guys think down below, where you agree or where you disagree. And as always, if you guys do enjoy the content, feel free to subscribe. I'm going to continue to post a lot more videos here as we go further into 2022. Also, keep an eye out for the most disappointing players for each team. I'm going to be dropping that most likely later this week or early next week. But anyways, I want to thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.